Go ahead, sir.
So the U.S. Congress mandated the U.S. Army to look for a new pattern for the U.S. Army. The ACU, otherwise known as the Universal Camouflage Pattern, just wasn't very effective in Afghanistan and in a lot of other places around the world. So ADS teamed up with myself, Guy Kramer out of Vancouver, Canada, and I run a company called Hyperstealth Biotechnology Corporation. We basically had our camouflage designers, and our expertise is in coming up with the most effective designs we can for different tactical engagements, different operating areas. Depending on the scenario, we'll have a different pattern applied. So we've got 11,000 patterns to date. We're constantly working on improving what we have. And in the case of the U.S. Army, we tried to come up with what we felt was the optimal design with the requirements set forth. So they were looking for a family of camouflage in 3 different patterns: an arid, a transitional, and a woodland. The transitional is anything in between the woodland and the arid. And then a gear pattern, which we were allowed to do differently. And in the case, what we've done is this personal protective equipment pattern. So it's the same pattern, but you can see the coloration is slightly different. And the reason for that is that the gear is so expensive to make, they don't want to make it in 3 different versions. So we had to come up with something that was effective across the spectrum of the 3 patterns. And rather than using the transitional pattern, a lot of people would assume that would be the most effective. We actually found that by shifting the colors more towards the arid, we actually had a much more effective pattern on the arid and woodland than we would if we had gone with the transitional coloration. It's a bit of a compromise you have to make, but that's the rules of the game, and you got to play by the rules. So we tested these patterns in computer testing. I've done testing with the U.S. government prior to this, so I knew the requirements. We found that the pattern that I'm wearing beat multicam by about 26% in that computer testing. And what we're looking for now is, does that pan out in the real world? So in the field trials that are now taking place, are we going to see that variation where we're above the baseline pattern? So we've got AOR1, AOR2, which are the Navy patterns, which are your woodland and arid baselines, and multicam is your transitional baseline. And in our computer testing, and in the testing that the Army did, their own subjective computer testing, they actually found that our pattern was above the baseline in all 3 cases, which moved us to the next level. So we're in competition now with 3 other companies, and we expect to hear by December, at the latest, the winner of those field trials. And it's expected that the Army will then start to issue these patterns. So what they want to do to save cost is that all Army members, if we won, would be issued the transitional pattern. If they were deployed to an arid region, they would open up the containers and have the arid pattern. And if they were deployed to a woodland, then they would get the woodland pattern, which is basically this. So they're saving costs. They're not actually going to be issuing 3 separate types of uniforms to the soldier. They're going to be issuing 1 uniform. This will be garrison. This will be a lot of the areas that they deploy to. But if they have to get deployed to a tropical environment or Northern Europe or something like that for combat, then they're going to go to this uniform and they're going to open up those containers and ship those out. So again, it's about getting the soldiers what they need to be as effective as they can be in combat without breaking the bank and supplying soldiers with uniforms that they may never end up using if they never get deployed to these different locations out there.
All right, thank you very much.